Here's a wild thought. Can an institution actually outlive the empire that created it? Well, we're about to dive into the incredible story of a single military regiment that did just that. It didn't just survive the fall of the British Empire, it went on to thrive under a completely new flag. It's a story that stretches back nearly 2 centuries, an unbroken thread connecting two very different worlds.
So, meet the 10th Baluch. Today, they're a distinguished infantry battalion in the Pakistan Army, a modern fighting force with a proud role in their country's history. But, and this is the important part, their story doesn't start here, not even close.
To find their origins, we have to jump in a time machine and go way back to 1844. And we're not even in the same army, we're in the British Indian Army. That's right, this is a Pakistani regiment that started its life serving the British Crown. How crazy is that?
And that really gets to the core question we're tackling here. How on earth does a military unit hold on to its identity, its traditions, through a massive historical shift like that? I mean, it's a fascinating journey from one empire to a brand new nation.
Okay, so let's start at the very beginning. And here's the kicker. The regiment wasn't just created by the British, it was born directly out of a fight with the British. You really can't make this up. In 1843, the British have just conquered the region of Scinde, and their commander, General Napier, was so blown away by the courage of the Baloch warriors he'd just been fighting against that he basically said, "You know what? I want those guys on my team."
And just like that, in 1844, the Scinde Bellochee Corps was born. And what's really cool is that it was super diverse from day one. They didn't just recruit Balochis, but also Sindhis, Pathans, and later on Brahus and Punjabi Muslims. It was a real melting pot of the region's fiercest warrior cultures.
Now, this new unit wasn't just going to be sitting around on garrison duty. Almost immediately, they were thrown into conflicts all over the world, becoming expert campaigners for the very same empire they had once fought. I mean, just look at this timeline. The pace is absolutely relentless. They fought in the Indian Rebellion, then they're shipped off to Abyssinia, that's modern-day Ethiopia. Then it's the Second Afghan War, the Third Burmese War, and then back to Africa to fight in what's now Uganda. These guys were constantly on the move, always in the thick of it. And their incredible performance in Abyssinia earned them a huge honor. They were designated Light Infantry. Now, this was way more than just a name change. It was a badge of honor, a mark of an elite force. It meant you were highly mobile, super effective, and could be deployed anywhere, fast. But they weren't done collecting accolades. After their amazing service in the Burmese War, the regiment got a nickname that stuck with them for ages, the Capital Campaigners. It was basically a way of saying, these guys are the real deal on the battlefield. So as the regiment's reputation is growing and growing, its actual identity, its name, its look, it all started to change, reflecting this really rich and complicated history they were building. Now, the name changes a few times, so stick with me. They started as the Scinde Bellochee Corps. Then they became part of the regular army as the 127th Bombay Native Infantry. Later, big army reforms turned them into the 127th Baluch Light Infantry, and then they became part of the bigger 10th Baluch Regiment. Finally, after 1947, the spelling gets updated to Baloch, cementing the modern name we know today. But through all these changes, the regiment developed some really unique trademarks. They even got a royal colonel-in-chief, Queen Mary. They, of course, held on to that Capital Campaigners nickname, and they were known for their one-of-a-kind uniform, a rifle green tunic, or kurta, and get this, these famous, unmistakable red trousers. And then the World Wars hit, and the Capital Campaigners went global in a huge way. They fought across 3 different continents, from the jungles of East Africa to the deserts of Palestine and Iraq, all the way to the battlefields of Sicily, Italy, and Greece. They were truly everywhere. And all of this leads us to the biggest, most pivotal moment in the regiment's entire history, the end of the British Empire in India, the very empire they had served for over 100 years. The year is 1947. The British Raj is over. The Indian subcontinent is being split into 2 new countries, India and Pakistan. For a regiment in the British Indian Army, this is a massive what happens now moment. Everything was about to change. So, with the partition of India, the regiment was officially allocated to the brand new Pakistan Army. Think about that. After a century of service to the British Crown, their allegiance was transferred, literally overnight, to a new flag and a new nation. And they didn't waste any time proving their worth to their new country. They fought with real distinction in the 1965 Indo-Pakistani War and played a major role in capturing Cham during the 1971 war. the capital campaigners were starting a whole new chapter, proving their loyalty all over again.
And that's really the heart of their story. Despite these world-shaking changes, an empire falling, a nation being born, a new flag, a new command, the core identity of the regiment, that spirit of the capital campaigners, it never broke.
You know, the story of the 10th Baluch is so much more than just military history. It's an amazing story about resilience, and it leaves you with this really powerful question. What makes an institution's identity so strong that it can actually outlast the very world that created it in the first place?